Imagine discovering your entire marriage was built on a lie, and then having to decide if the love that grew from that lie is worth saving. 3 years into what I thought was a perfect marriage, my husband sat me down and confessed he only married me to get citizenship. But here's the twist. He says he's since fallen deeply in love with me for real. The wedding vows? A performance? The proposal? Calculated? But the tears in his eyes as he begged for forgiveness? Those seemed real. So now I'm left with an impossible choice: walk away from the man I love, or try to rebuild our relationship on the ashes of its fraudulent beginning. This is my story. Hello, everyone! This is probably the hardest video I've ever had to make. My entire world was turned upside down just 2 weeks ago, and I'm still trying to process everything. I've been watching storytime videos for years, but I never thought I'd be sharing something like this. Before I begin, I want to thank everyone who responded to my original post on Reddit. Your advice and stories helped me more than you know during this incredibly difficult time. I met Raj. That's not his real name, but I'll call him that for this video. 4 years ago at a networking event downtown. I was 30, focused on my career, and honestly not looking for a relationship. He approached me near the refreshment table, made a joke about the sad-looking cheese platter, and somehow we ended up talking for 2 hours. He was charming, intelligent, and had this way of making me feel like I was the only person in the room. He told me he had moved here 5 years earlier from his home country for a tech job opportunity. I was immediately drawn to his stories about growing up in a different culture, his ambitions, and his perspective on life. What followed was a whirlwind romance. Our first date turned into an entire weekend of talking. Within a month, we were seeing each other almost every day. He would bring me coffee at work, surprise me with little gifts, and seemed genuinely interested in everything about me. Looking back, there were signs that things were moving suspiciously fast. By month 3, he was talking about meeting my parents. By month 5, he was hinting at our future together. And at 6 months, yes, just 6 months after meeting, he proposed during a weekend trip to the coast. My friends were concerned. My sister outright asked if I was sure about this. "You barely know him," she said. But I was convinced we had something special. One of those rare connections where you just know. We were married just 4 months after the engagement, a small ceremony with family and close friends. I remember standing at the altar, looking into his eyes, thinking how lucky I was to have found such deep love so unexpectedly. The next 3 years were genuinely wonderful. We moved into a small house, adopted 2 rescue cats, and settled into married life. Raj was attentive and supportive. When my father was diagnosed with cancer last year, Raj was my rock. He drove me to the hospital for visits, cooked meals for my parents, and held me through countless nights of tears and worry. About a year into our marriage, Raj received his green card. I remember the celebration dinner we had, how relieved and happy he seemed. I attributed his emotion to feeling truly settled in his adopted country, finally free from paperwork and uncertainty. We had our disagreements like any couple, but nothing major. We talked about starting a family someday, though Raj always seemed to want to wait a bit longer. We hosted dinner parties, went on vacations, built friendships with other couples. From the outside, and honestly, from my perspective too, we had a solid, loving marriage. 2 weeks ago, I came home from work to find Raj sitting at our kitchen table. No dinner cooking, no music playing, just him, looking more serious than I'd ever seen him. "We need to talk," he said, and my heart immediately sank. My first thought was that he was having an affair, or maybe he wanted a divorce, or had received terrible news from back home. What he actually said was worse than anything I'd imagined. "When I met you," he began, his voice shaking, "I was desperate. My work visa was expiring in 3 months. I had already been denied an extension twice. I was facing having to leave everything I'd built here and return to a country where I had few prospects and family complications." He told me he had actually attended that networking event specifically looking for potential marriage prospects. That when he approached me, it was with calculated intention. That he had accelerated our relationship deliberately, proposing when he did because of his visa timeline. Our marriage, the foundation of our life together, had begun as a strategic immigration plan. I felt like I was going to be sick. The room was spinning. 3 years of memories were suddenly recolored, tainted. Our wedding day, was any of it real? The vows we'd exchanged, did they mean anything to him? Was I just a convenient passport, a breathing green card? But then he continued, now openly crying. Somewhere during that first year, he said, everything changed. I realized I wasn't pretending anymore when I said I love you. I wasn't going through the motions when I held you at night. The life we were building, I wanted it desperately, not for the documents, but for us. He described specific moments. When my laugh became his favorite sound. When my happiness became more important than his own. When he realized he was no longer playing a role but living the life he actually wanted. I could have kept this secret forever, he said. My green card situation is secure now. In another year, I could apply for citizenship regardless of our marital status. But I couldn't live with this lie between us anymore. You deserve to know the real foundation of our relationship, even if it means losing you. He finished by saying the last 2 years of love were genuine, that he was desperately in love with me now, regardless of how things began. I didn't say a word. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to my sister's apartment where I sobbed for hours. For the past 2 weeks, I've been in emotional chaos. I alternate between rage, heartbreak, and confusion. Some moments I want to throw away every gift he's ever given me. Other moments I find myself looking at our photos together, searching for signs of deception or genuine feeling. I've moved most of my essential belongings to my sister's place while Raj stays in our house. He calls daily, but I've only spoken to him briefly. He's offered to attend counseling, to speak with an immigration attorney about potential consequences of his confession, to do whatever it would take to rebuild trust. His parents even called me from overseas. They were devastated and claimed they had no idea about his initial intentions. Hearing his mother cry and apologize somehow made everything more painful and real. I've started seeing a therapist to sort through my feelings. I've contacted an attorney to understand my legal position, though that's not my primary concern right now. The hardest part isn't the betrayal itself, it's doubting everything I thought was real. When he held me during my father's illness, was that genuine compassion or committed acting? When he surprised me with anniversary gifts, was he checking boxes or expressing love? How can I ever know for sure? So here's where I stand. I'm facing an impossible choice. If I walk away, I protect myself from further deception. I can rebuild my life on honest ground. I won't have to wonder about his true feelings or intentions. But I also lose the man who, regardless of how we began, has been an incredible partner for the past 2 years. I lose the future we planned together. I lose someone I genuinely love. If I stay, I have to find a way to rebuild trust from scratch. I have to accept that our origin story is forever tainted. I'll always know that our wedding day meant something fundamentally different to each of us. But maybe we could build something new and honest from here. Maybe the love that grew from deceptive soil can still bloom into something real and lasting. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. I alternate between decisions hourly. One moment I'm drafting divorce papers in my mind. The next I'm remembering how he looks at me across a crowded room, seeking out my eyes. And I wonder if that kind of attention can be faked for years. They say every relationship is built on trust. But what happens when you learn that trust was violated before the relationship truly began? Can genuine love grow from dishonest beginnings? Is it possible to separate the man who lied to me 4 years ago from the man who's loved me for the past 2? I don't have answers yet, just questions and doubts and conflicting emotions. Next week, we're meeting with a couples counselor for the first time. I'm not making any promises about reconciliation, but I've agreed to at least have the difficult conversations professionally mediated. If you've been through something similar or have insights to share, please leave them in the comments. I'm still trying to find my way through this maze of betrayal and love, and sometimes a stranger's perspective can illuminate paths you hadn't considered. Thank you for listening to my story. I'll post an update when I've decided which path to take, whether that's rebuilding or walking away. Either way, I know the road ahead will be difficult. Sometimes the deepest love stories begin with the biggest lies. The question is whether that love can survive once the truth comes to light.